A to the negative nth power. First thing you do is find the reciprocal. What's the reciprocal of A? It's really A over 1, right? What's the reciprocal of A over 1? Flip it over. It's 1 over A. Whenever you flip it over, whenever you choose to make the reciprocal, then your exponent becomes positive. So look, here's 1. 2 to the negative first power. What's the reciprocal of 2? 2 over 1. It's 1 over 2, right? So they switch it to 1 over 2, and then it becomes to the first power. Anything to the first power is itself, right? Okay, so let's try. How about this? Write another example. 3 to the negative third power. I can't have a negative, so what's the first thing I do? Flip it, and that'll become what? 1 over 3. And then, how do you move that thing? You can't. Awesome. Okay, so it becomes 1 over 3, and then once you flip it over, then your exponent becomes positive. What's 3 to the third? What's 3 times 3? 9 times 3 is 27. So now it's 1 over 27. Okay? 3 times 3 times 3. Okay, we'll do one more. How about, yeah, I know, it looks kind of big. I can do it. How about, let's try one more. How about 4 to the negative second power? What is the first thing I have to do? Cheyenne, what's the first thing I have to do? Flip it. So instead of 4 over 1, it's going to be 1 over 4, and then now my exponent becomes positive to the second power. What is 4 times 4? 16. So now it's 1 over 16. All right, I got to do this thing. Hang on, guys. All right. There we go. Okay. So do you understand how that works? Questions? So here's the other one. What happens if you just did it the opposite way? What happens if you have, so the reciprocal of A to the negative n. So if you have, let's say, 2. I like your example here. Okay, use different. Let's see. Are they ever going to have to do that? 1 over 2 to the negative first power. You can't have a negative exponent, so what do you have to do? Now I'm just taking it, instead of going from a whole number to a fraction, I'm going from a fraction to a what? A whole number, right? What's the reciprocal of 1 over 2? 2 over 1, which is 2, right? So it's 2 to the first, which is what? Anything to the first is itself, right? One more. How about if we had 1 over 4 to the negative second? What do I have to do? First words. Tim, what do I have to do first? Flip it. Good. So instead of 1 over 4, it becomes 4. You can put it over 1 if you want. Now it's to the second power. What's 4 times 4? 16. So do you have any questions about what to do when you have a negative exponent? First thing you do is you flip it, and then your exponent becomes positive, and you go ahead and solve it from there. So first thing you do is you flip it, and then your exponent becomes positive. Should I go on? Yes? No? Erica? Let's look at some of these over here. Why isn't this moving down this way? There we go. Okay. So example 1. 3 to the negative second power. Melissa, what's the first thing I have to do? Flip it. So instead of 3 over 1, it's going to be 1 over 3, and then this magically becomes positive. Okay? So what is 3 squared? Pi. 3 times 3. Remember, it's not 3 times 2, it's 2, 3. So it's 3 times 3. 9. So now it becomes 1 over 9. Okay? You guys have questions about what I did? Yeah. It has to be over because we flipped it. We made it into its reciprocal.
So it has not 9, it's 1/9.
1 over 9. Yeah.
That's why that one's important.
Good. Okay. Hyung, what's anything to the 0 power? 1. There you go. Anything except for 0. Right? That should be the easiest one you ever get. Bruce. 1 over, oh, this is C. 1 over 5 to the negative second. Now again, do you remember yesterday when we had parentheses? What did I have to do? We had to distribute, didn't we? Do you want to flip it first? No, we had to distribute first and then flip it, right? Repeat. So, I'm going to distribute your little negative 2. Goes to both of these. Murphy, we can't flip it first. Excuse me? 1 over 5 to the negative second. All right, so what is 1/5? Aaron, what's 1/5? What's the reciprocal of it? To the second power. Everything goes to the second power. So it's 5 squared. Yes. No, 5 squared. 5 times 5 is 25. And 1 squared is simply 1, right? So your answer is just simply 25. Okay. You guys want to do another example? How many of them? Okay. What's 0 to the negative 5th power? 0. Because even if you flip it, right, anything is 0. 0 over 1, 1 over 0, it's all 0. Okay. Here we go. Here we go. Properties of exponents. Let A and B be a real number and let M and N be the integers, or the powers, right? So here's the product of powers property. When you have the same base and you multiply, remember we added the exponents. Remember that from yesterday? Same base, you add the exponents. We did that yesterday. So let's say we have x to the 6 times x to the 2nd. What does it become? Kate, what does it become? Kate, I don't want Kate. What? X to the 8th. Whenever you have the same base, this is called the base. If I had, okay, well, the base can be a number or a letter. It's the same base. Who knows what a coefficient is? Do you guys remember what a coefficient is? We talked about it earlier, way earlier in the year. If you had, you don't have to write this down, if you had a 2 in front of here, the coefficient is the number before your variable. What was the other vocabulary term you wanted them to?
Coefficient, base, variable, exponent.
All right, we did it. All right. Do you guys understand this one? Same base, you just simply add the exponents. Now, we did this yesterday too, power of a power property. Remember, if we had, here's an example, 4 to the 2nd to the 3rd, right? We're distributing the 3, aren't we? So what's 4? What's 2 times 3? Someone? 4 to the 6th power. Who has a calculator? Who can do that? Do you remember that little button you gotta push? Jalen can do it. What is 4 to the 6th? 4 caret 6. Come on, guys. Real loud. Real loud.
4,096.
Thank you. You guys are like church ones here. All right. So you have to multiply when you have, you take something to another power. Power of a product property. So you have A, B in here, And again, you simply distribute the m. So a is taken to the mth power and b is taken to the mth power. So if you have 3x and we take it to the second power, all that's saying is you need to distribute that too. So you end up with 3 squared times x squared. What's 3 squared? Shelby, what's 3 squared? 9. So you end up with 9x squared. Okay, so you simply are distributing whatever's on the outside. Here's something new. When you have a division problem, quotient means division, right? It's the answer to a division problem. Fractions are simply division, right? 1 over 2, 1 divided by 2, right? Quotient of powers property. So if you have a to the mth power over a to the nth, what you have to do is subtract the 2. Subtract the 2 exponents. So let's say we have x to the 6th power over x to the 2nd power. We have to subtract the exponents. So what is 6 take away 2? 4. So it's x to the 4th. Another way to help you understand it a little bit is if you wrote it out, it would be 6x on top and 2 on the bottom. What cancels out? These two, because they're the same. How many are left? 4 x's, and they happen to be on top. Okay? You guys understand that? So if you have anything having to do with fraction or you have to divide, you subtract your exponents. Did you do more examples of that? Well, here we go. Let's go on. And did you write out all these examples on the back?
Yes.
All right, here we go. So A, 6 to the negative 4 times 6 to the 4th. We have the same base, so what do we have to do with the exponents? We have to add them. Good. So I end up with 6. What is 4 take away 4? To the 0 power. What's anything to the 0 power? 1. Okay, same base. We add the exponents. Let's try B. We have 4 to the negative 2nd to the 2nd. Now, who remembers the order of operation? What's the first thing you have to do? What's the P stand for? Parentheses. So before you take anything to another power, you have to take care of what's in parentheses first. In the parentheses, we have 4 to the negative 2nd. We can't have a negative exponent. So what's the first thing you have to do? We have to flip it. Whenever you see a negative exponent, we flip it. So instead of 4 over 1, it would be what? 1 over 4 squared, right? What is 1 over 4 squared? 16, right? But it's 1/16 because we have to keep that top, right? It's 1 over 16. Now we took care of what was in parentheses, and we can take it to the 2nd power. Okay, you have to do what's in parentheses first, get rid of the negative, and then take it to whatever power. So now we just distribute our 2. We take 1 to the 2nd, and we take 16 to the 2nd. So what is 1 squared? It's 1, right? 1 times 1 is 1. What is, now we have to take 16 to the 2nd power. What's 16 times 16? 256? So it's 1 over 256. So you just add a few more steps in there. You have to get whatever's in parentheses first. You guys have questions? Let's try another one. We're going to do a couple kind of similar like that in your homework. Here we go. This is C. 1 over 3 to the negative 4th. Okay, Jennifer, what do I have to do? How do I get rid of that negative exponent? So first thing I have to do, flip it. So instead of 1 over 3, it becomes 3 over 1, right? If you want to put 3 over 1, go ahead. I don't add the over 1 because it's just simply a whole number. So now it's 3 to the 4th. So So what's 3 to the 4th? 3 times 3 is 9. 9